want to start with LSU.
Yeah.
And something, David, that I've said, and I've said since the Brian Kelly hire happened. You had Ed Orgeron win a national championship at LSU. You had Les Miles win a national championship at LSU, which I don't know if he ate more of the grass or smoked more of the grass. LSU to be able to operate like the way Saban had it, because we know it recruits itself. The state is saturated in talent and they want to stay home. LSU is a national brand. Hell, people think they invented the gritty. I mean, they're next level swag. Kids love that. It's the truth. Brian Kelly, and I want every LSU fan that doubts this hire or says, oh, how's this guy going to come down and do? You already see he's not doing bad in recruiting. He is the stepdad that you never wanted, but you always needed. He's the stepdad that comes in and says, you know what? You're going to clean your room. You're going to be home by 10. You're going to have better friends. You're going to do your homework. And you hate him. You hate him at first. Why? I'm taking away all my freedoms. Oh, you want to misbehave? I'm taking the door off the hinges. You have no privacy. Then, when you're walking across the stage, graduating cum laude from Vanderbilt or Harvard or somewhere, you love him. When you're living in a 6-room house that's 3 stories with a pool, you know what they say? It's not an estate unless it comes with a pool and a gate. You look at him and say, you know what? I'm glad you did that. LSU needs structure. If LSU has structure, they have more potential than Bama. They have more potential than Georgia. They, to me, are the most dangerous team when they have structure. This whole Saban domination thing, he was good at Michigan State. It was a great fit at LSU. He brought in the process, he brought in the structure, and when you mix that structure with unbelievable talent, not only that, but in-state talent that bleeds purple and gold, you have something. And I'm telling you right now, A&M, they've done an unbelievable job recruiting. The scariest team over the next 5 years in the SEC to me, and I'd even go 5 to 7 to even 7 to 10, is LSU, and it is without a doubt because you are bringing structure to a literal army of NFL players that are willing to live and die in that state. There is no Auburn. There is no Texas A&M to Texas. There is no Mississippi State to Ole Miss. There's no Vandy to Tennessee. Nobody's going to Louisiana Tech over LSU. I'm sorry. Nobody's going to Southeastern Louisiana over LSU. I apologize. At the end of the day, Lafayette, coach just went to Florida. It's a nice place, but it's not LSU. At the end of the day, LSU with structure is scary as hell. I'm talking The Conjuring scary. I'm talking about walking out in the hallway of the hotel and 2 little twin girls are holding hands, singing a song in the middle of the night.
Scary. I remember
like that
that
type of scary.
Well, look, I'm still disappointed that it wasn't Ed Orgeron who could provide that structure because he was so perfect for that job from a culture standpoint. And I always love it when guys go back to either their alma maters or a place that they're a perfect fit for. You know, you want them to have success. I think like Jim Harbaugh at my alma mater at Michigan, or Kirby at Georgia, or Scott Frost at Nebraska, right? So it was so cool for college football to see a personality like Ed Orgeron be at LSU and be able to have what I think one of the greatest college football teams of all time in 2019. But then look, the wheels fell off the bus there from a culture standpoint, like you were talking about. So you bring in someone like Brian Kelly, a hire none of us really saw coming. I mean, when you're the winningest coach at Notre Dame, you don't think that someone's going to be making a move, but he did it because he wanted to see what was going on in the SEC. And he's on record as saying, I want to beat Nick Saban. I want to beat Nick Saban. So when you're talking about athletes, man, for LSU, look, I'm looking at weeks 1 and 3 right here because week 1 you have Florida State, right? Now, Florida State is not favored to win the ACC. LSU is not favored to win the SEC. But when it comes to a talent standpoint and athletes running around the football field, they may have the best collection of any game we see all season.
That's
right?
Exactly right. There's not going to be a lot of slow pokes.
No, exactly.
Running around that field.
And look, Florida State is not going to be down forever, right? I don't know how quickly Coach Kelly can get this culture turned around. I don't know yet who exactly is going to start at quarterback for them. So you have some questions, and a Florida State team who's going to have athletes coming in there. Can you get a win week 1, and then you have Southern U week 2? So if you can start out 2-0, and then a lot of people may overlook that Mississippi State game week 3, but we've seen it done before.
LSU better not. That's exactly
better
right.
not. And you have an experienced quarterback like Will Rogers and a head coach like Mike Leach, who you know is going to scheme you perfectly coming in. So if you can get through that right there, and then you have New Mexico week 4, Brian Kelly could either be looking at a 4-0 start before you go to the Plains at Auburn, or are you looking at a 2-2 start because you've had some problems getting the culture changed over? You've had there maybe is a quarterback controversy brewing from camp. I don't know.
Here's what worries me, Blaine, and I know Miles Brennan has done it before. Miles Brennan, was literally throwing for 400 yards a game literally before he got hurt. But when you haven't played in basically 2 years, it's not like riding a bike. It's like riding a It's like NASCAR. It's like getting in a yeah. You may have driven fast before. You've seen it. You understand it. But you don't drive for 2 years. The first time you get back in that car, it's not exactly going to just be purely muscle memory. And Miles Brennan has had a problem staying healthy. And again, I'm a firm believer in somebody shows you who you are, or they are, you got to believe them. I say it all the time on this show. Miles Brennan struggles to stay healthy. He is a good player. Is he an elite quarterback in my opinion? No. But I'm not sold on this Jaden Daniels kid like a lot of people are. I know going from Arizona State was a dumpster fire. Herm Edwards, that whole situation is going down like a sweet muffin. I get it, and he left. But there were problems with guys in that locker room with him too. They helped take his stuff out of his locker. We've seen quarterbacks leave, we've seen players leave, and other players be like, good luck to him, whatever. They help get his stuff out of that locker. He seems a little bit like a me guy. And from a talent standpoint, I know he's athletic, he can run around, but the turnovers. You don't go from seeing Pac-12 defenses to SEC defenses, and they get slower and smaller. So I'm very concerned for LSU at the quarterback position because I think it's going to be one of those two guys. I would lean on Brennan, but I have a hard time trusting Miles, pun intended. You can't get a lot of mileage out of him, put it that way. So I'm a little bit skeptical this year. I got LSU going 4-4 in the SEC, but I think over that 5-year stretch, once BK has his guys in there doing it his way, LSU is scary.
I feel like the only thing we're talking about really is LSU's offense. LSU was great when their defense was good. Last year, their defense was terrible. Terrible. And you never see that out of an LSU defense. I mean, you got the weapons on offense. I mean, you got Boutte receiver. Yep. You got Beckett receiver. I mean, you just have a quarterback that doesn't need to mess it up. I mean, you got Emery at running back. You have 4 running backs who are legitimately good, who can play down-to-down football. But then you go to the defense. I mean, you got one returner in the secondary.
And Ricks went to Bama.
Yeah, Ricks, you have Jay Ward in the secondary. You do have Ali Gay coming back for the front. He got hurt for most of the season last year. But LSU has to get back to, when I think of LSU, I think of ferocious on defense. Yeah. Just nasty, dirty, will hit you anywhere on the field. They have to get back to playing LSU defense. I think their offense will be fine. I think Boutte might be the best receiver.
I agree.
College,
I think so.
I agree.
From Ohio State, I believe.
I don't know. I'm taking Boutte.
I think it's still a toss-up.
It's a toss-up, right? You have that guy. You're going to be great on offense. You're going to be good up front. But their defense has to come back to what they were, which wasn't, giving up 10 points a game. But, they're 21 a game, a lot of turnovers, a lot of swag.
Striking fear in you.
You strike people when you used to go to LSU. The defense would strike fear in these guys, especially at the DB position. Like LSU's DBU, or was DBU. I don't know if they're still DBU, but they had DBs out there that one-on-one, it's all day. So.
Well, yeah, too, and again, I'm more of the school of, okay, well, if the defense was bad the last couple of years and you're not returning a lot of guys on defense, that may be the best thing that could happen to you. Yeah. Now, you do want experience, but again, you look at LSU defensively, they really, really lacked that thump, that what made LSU. And see, I don't even think of the DBs. When I think of LSU, I think of guys like Glenn Dorsey. I think of those guys up front that are just absolutely nasty in the trenches, that are willing to sit there and eat up double teams so the linebackers that run 4-3-5, that run 4-4 are coming downhill and knocking your teeth through the back of your throat. That's LSU football. And I think Brian Kelly, from a structural standpoint, he knows how to hire guys. Ed Orgeron was very fortunate with the guys that he had going there. Joe Brady. Yeah. He was very fortunate. Right when they leave, because we know Ed O's not exactly Rain Man when it comes to schematics in football, okay? He screwed up on the hires that he made. And if you don't know how to hire the right guys, that's what's going to cost you when you're that type of head coach. It's always good, regardless of what type of head coach you are, to know how to hire guys. But especially if you're a type coach like Ed Orgeron is, that's a motivator, that's a hype guy, you can't understand what he's saying, even though he's a good recruiter. Make those two things make sense. I don't know how he did it. Well, I could take a guess. But I'm very interested to see LSU's physicality. If you like that content, go ahead and subscribe, because we're going to be balling every day on Crane & Company. Hit that like button while you're at it, and go ahead and smash it like Derrick Henry on an ISO run.